Massey, as most of you guys know, and we're going to do a PowerPoint today on antibiotics, and we're talking about antibiotic resistance and antibiotics, to do or not to do, that is the question. So our objectives that we're going to cover on this PowerPoint are: what is an antibiotic, the history of antibiotics, purpose of antibiotics, when and when do you not need antibiotics, what is antibiotic resistance, what can we do to help prevent resistance, what to do if antibiotics are necessary, some fun facts and trivia, and a summary. So, APJ Abdul Kalam, which I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with this person, however, he said the widespread use of antibiotics promotes the spread of antibiotic resistance. Smart use of antibiotics is the key to controlling its spread. And that's the message I'm trying to get across to you guys, is you don't need antibiotics for every time you go to the doctor. And we need to kind of get a control on antibiotic use so that we'll have antibiotics when we actually need them, okay? So what is an antibiotic? It is a drug that fights infections caused by bacteria, that's the key word, bacteria, in both humans and animals. Antibiotics fight these infections by either killing the bacteria, or making it really hard for it to grow and multiply. So, a little bit about the history of antibiotics. The first antibiotic was discovered in 1928, and we all know what the antibiotic is penicillin. And it was discovered by Sir Alex Fleming. So what is the purpose of antibiotics? Antibiotics cure bacterial infections. They do not cure viral infections. So what should you do for yourself or your child to receive an antibiotic? All right, so this chart kind of gives some common conditions that we all may go to the doctor for. Again, we've talked about bacteria versus virus. Bacteria is what we're going to treat with antibiotics. If it's a virus, we do not want to take an antibiotic, okay? So strep throat, whooping cough, a UTI, those are all bacterial infections, and we need antibiotics for those, okay? So when we start kind of getting into a sinus infection, a middle ear infection, you kind of just need to have lab work done. You need to see if it's bacterial or viral. See if it doesn't take care of itself and run the course. If not, then maybe an antibiotic. Bronchitis, chest colds, usually not. Runny noses, sore throat, the flu, they're all viral. You do not need an antibiotic for those. Remember, antibiotics cure bacterial infections, not viral infections such as colds or flu, coughs and bronchitis, runny nose, and sore throats. All things that we end up going to the doctor for or either taking our children for. So just remember, these are viral most of the time. Did you know that antibiotics can do more harm sometimes than good? The CDC shows where antibiotics are responsible for 1 out of 5 trips to the ER, and these usually are children under the age of 18 who's had an adverse effect to an antibiotic, okay? So antibiotic resistance, we hear a lot about that, and what it is the ability of bacteria to resist the effects of an antibiotic. Resistance occurs when bacteria change in a way that reduces the effectiveness of drugs, chemicals, or other agents designed to cure or prevent infections. The bacteria survive, and so they are then able to multiply, causing more harm. So I have a cool little chart to me that explains this rather well. So this is how it happens. So we start out with lots of drugs, and you may have a few of them in there that are drug resistant. Say for instance those little dark maybe magenta ones. So then antibiotics kill bacteria, right? So the antibiotics go in here and they kill the bacteria. Well, they not only kill the bad bacteria, but they kill the good too. Okay, so that's left us down to, they kill the good and the bad, and that's left us at these that are drug resistant bacteria. And so now the drug resistant bacteria are allowed to grow and take over, and they can even give their drug resistance to other bacteria, causing them to multiply even faster. So this next story, Peggy's story, my hyperlink is not working for some reason, but I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Peggy. Peggy was a 50-year-old lady who had gone to the doctor and received an antibiotic for an infection. And what happened was the antibiotic destroyed the good bacteria in her abdomen, and she ended up with C. diff. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of C. diff, but it affects your bowels. It gets in your stool, and so it's a very pungent. When you go to the bathroom, it's very pungent and foul smelling. And so what happened to Peggy? Antibiotics can cause C. diff, okay? So when she gets C. diff, it gets in her bloodstream, it causes sepsis, and she dies 6 days later. So her family is now advocating not using antibiotics again unless it's absolutely necessary. So this shows some information from the CDC. And this is wild to me. There's an estimated minimum number of illnesses and deaths caused by antibiotic resistance. Over 2 million a year illnesses from antibiotic resistance. 23,000 deaths because their bodies were just basically immune to the antibiotics. And then the C. diff that we just talked about, C. diff caused 250,000 illnesses in the past year and 14,000 deaths from C. diff. And this is all antibiotic related. So why are bacteria becoming resistant to drugs? According to the CDC, the overuse and misuse of antibiotics promote antibiotic resistance bacteria. So overuse, every time you go to the doctor with a sickness, whether or not you need one or not, the doctor gives you one because a lot of times we're pushy and we ask for those antibiotics and we want them. The overuse and the misuse. And what I mean by misuse is you don't finish your antibiotic, you feel better, you leave it sitting on the cabinet, you get sick the next time, you pick the antibiotic up, you use it again. That's misuse. You need to always complete your antibiotics. Every time a person takes antibiotics, sensitive bacteria that antibiotics can still attack are killed, but resistant bacteria are left to grow and multiply. And this is how the repeated use of antibiotics can increase the number of drug-resistant bacteria. So what can we do to help? All right, we as adults, as parents, as future parents, we can make sure that we help prevent infections with ourselves and our children. We can make sure that they get their vaccinations. Good hand washing when they get there in the bathroom. Always encourage them to wash their hands, washing their hands before they eat. They come home from school, before they have a snack, and safe food preparation. And never, like we talked about a while ago, never encourage your doctor or press them, make them feel like that your child needs an antibiotic, okay? And then, of course, we need to avoid antibiotics unless they're absolutely necessary, because there's times that they are. And there's several things that you can do to help your child or yourself to feel better. If it's a viral infection, just make sure they or yourself get plenty of rest, keep them hydrated with water, use a clean humidifier, acetaminophen or ibuprofen for the pain. And if it's ear pain, just a warm, moist cloth over their ear will help relieve that ear pain. Okay. So if antibiotics are necessary, we avoid them as long as we can. And if they're necessary, what can we do to help avoid resistance? And we kind of talked about this, but we're going to administer the antibiotic exactly how your pediatrician orders it. We're never going to skip or stop the medicine just because we're feeling better. And we're never going to save antibiotics for later down the road, okay? We don't want to use somebody else's antibiotics. If somebody says, hey, I've got some K-Flex extra, sitting around the house, that's probably something they should have already taken, and it could even be expired. So the best thing is to take your own antibiotics and take them all. Don't save them. Okay, here is our trivia. And I have candy for whoever can answer my questions. Okay, so we're going to test our knowledge about antibiotics. Number 1, antibiotics fight infection caused by what? All right, Lauren?
Bacteria.
Very good.
No.
Okay, bacteria are germs that cause a cold or the flu. Bacteria are germs that cause a cold or the flu. Is this true or false? Bailey?
False.
False.
I couldn't give you the answer.
Okay, so which one of these illnesses should be treated with an antibiotic? A, C, or D? Catherine?
D.
D, strep throat. Is that right? Good
I
job! Woo-hoo! Okay,
Can't keep your
all right. See if I can get it. Oh no!
You answered it yourself.
Oh no! Okay, so I can prevent antibiotic resistance when Shelby,
All of the above?
all of the above. Don't take an antibiotic for a viral infection, right?
That's right.
Don't save an antibiotic for the next time your child is sick, correct?
Yes.
Don't give your child an antibiotic that belongs to someone else, and administer exactly how prescribed, correct?
Yes.
All right, good job. Okay, antibiotic resistance has been called one of the world's most pressing public health problems. True or false? Ashley?
True.
True. Good job. Okay, in summary, antibiotics are not our enemy. The abuse of antibiotics is the problem. Scientists are continuously working on new antibiotics, but with misuse, we'll become resistant to those as well. According to the CDC, 1 in 3 antibiotics are unnecessarily prescribed, and that just blows my mind when I think about that, because when I think about 99 people going into the doctor's office in one day and 33 coming out with antibiotic that they do not need, that they could, 1, have an allergic reaction to, 2, they could get sick from, C. diff, possibly even worse. It just amazes me. CDC Director Tom Frieden states that if we continue down the road of inappropriate use, we will lose the most important tool we have to fight life-threatening infections. So let's do our part. Let's be good stewards of antibiotics, not only for ourselves, but for the future of our children. And that's it. All right, thank y'all.